Watch as furious Dublin residents chant "Get them out" as they clash with police over the alleged assault by a migrant of a 10-year-old local girl. Ireland erupted in anger last night after locals learned of the alleged sexual assault of the young girl at City West Migrant Hotel in the early hours of Monday by a 26-year-old man. The 10-year-old, believed to be in care, was brought to Dublin as part of a planned recreational visit over the weekend. How she ended up in the Migrant Hotel has caused widespread concern. The Irish Times reports the suspect arrived in Ireland 6 years ago, but his asylum application was refused in 2024. Despite the migrant being slapped with a deportation order, he remains in Ireland. On Monday, he said, "I have nothing to say," before lodging an application for...
This is the scene that unfolded on the streets of a quiet Irish suburb. Not a planned celebration, but a flashpoint of anger, ideology and violence. For the second consecutive night, protests outside a hotel housing asylum seekers descended into chaos. But this time, the presence of a group calling themselves Patriots added a volatile and historically charged element to an already tense situation, sparking violent confrontations with counter-protesters and a heavy police response. Today, we're delving into the events that transpired in Newtown Park, a suburb of Dublin, where simmering tensions over Ireland's immigration policy boiled over into open conflict. What began as a local protest has now drawn international attention, raising difficult questions about nationalism, the housing crisis, and the importation of extremist politics. This hotel, like many across Ireland, has been contracted by the government to provide temporary accommodation for international protection applicants, asylum seekers fleeing war, persecution, instability. This policy has become a focal point for a growing anti-immigration movement in Ireland. A country grappling with a severe housing crisis of its own. For weeks, small, localised protests have occurred. Chants of "Ireland is full" and "How's the Irish first" have become common. Day one of the protest in Newtown Park was tense. A small group of local demonstrators gathered, met by a slightly larger group of anti-racism and community activists. There was shouting, heated arguments, and a significant police presence to keep the two sides apart. But it was day two when the situation escalated dramatically. Eyewitnesses and social media posts confirmed the arrival of a contingent from a UK-based group known for its ultra-nationalist and anti-immigrant rhetoric. Their decision to protest on Irish soil was seen by many as a deliberate and profound provocation. As night fell on day two, the atmosphere curdled. The British Patriots and their local sympathisers were met by a formidable force of counter-protesters, including anti-fascist activists, local residents, and members of socialist and republican groups. The Garda Public Order Unit Ireland's riot, police formed a tight cordon between the factions. For over an hour, it was a war of words. But then, the flashpoint. Accounts differ on who started it, but projectiles began to fly. Bottles, rocks, and even fireworks were reportedly thrown across the police line. The Gardaí were forced to act decisively, pushing both groups back to create a wider buffer zone. Several scuffles broke out, leading to multiple arrests. One video circulating online shows a firework exploding near the counter-protesters, causing a panicked surge. Another shows police physically restraining and arresting individuals from both sides of the conflict. The violence was sporadic but intense, transforming the suburban street into a battlefield of ideologies. It was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. You hear that noise, the shouting, the bands. You don't know what's happening. These people, the ones from Britain, what are they doing here? This is our community. We have our problems, yes, but this is not the way. They brought hate here, and the people inside that hotel. Can you imagine how they must feel, listening to that? This resident's final point is perhaps the most overlooked. Inside the hotel, the very people at the centre of this storm the asylum seekers were effectively trapped, listening to a violent clash happening just outside their windows. They are the silent witnesses to a conflict about their very presence. So what does this all mean? The events in Newtown Park are a microcosm of a larger European trend. Legitimate concerns about resources, like housing and healthcare, are being skillfully exploited by far-right groups to fuel an anti-immigrant agenda. Social media acts as an accelerant, allowing groups like the British Patriots to organise and insert themselves into local disputes, amplifying the anger and often inciting violence. The Irish government has condemned the violence, with the Minister for Justice stating that there is no place for thuggery or intimidation in our society. But condemnation alone may not be enough. The government faces a dual challenge: managing a strained asylum system humanely, while also addressing the real domestic anxieties that are creating fertile ground for extremist narratives. The clashes in Newtown Park have left a scar on the community. Arrests were made, but the deeper divisions have only been widened. The protest has highlighted a fractured Ireland struggling to reconcile its tradition of emigration and welcome with the pressures of a global migration crisis and a domestic housing emergency, proving that in an interconnected world, one nation's political extremism can easily spill across borders. The question that remains is whether this is a sign of things to come. As more protests are planned, will we see more nights of violence on Irish streets, or can a path be found through dialogue, policy, and community leadership that addresses people's fears without succumbing to hate? What are your thoughts on this complex situation? How should governments and communities respond to the rise of such protest? Let us know your perspective in the comments below, but please, keep the discussion respectful. Thanks for watching. If you found this report informative, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more in-depth analysis of the stories shaping our world. Click the notification bell so you never miss an update.
Yeah, I should have gotten out of the car.